Hi, I'm Battu from freefincal. In what came as a shock to many Franklin debt fund investors, Franklin AMC had on their own written down the value of Vodafone Idea bonds because they felt that given the way the Supreme Court case is proceeding, Vodafone will have to pay up, and I think the AMC believes they do not have enough money to pay, either pay or pay on time. So they have written down the value, and they have a very interesting wording on this. They were kind of late to issue the circular, which is unacceptable because the now was issued late last night. Must have been issued late last night, and the circular should have been ready. And that was what the first thing that investors should have woken up to. But the circular came almost after lunch today. I mean, like 12, 1 or 2, something like that, something around that time. I think that's too late, and there's too much speculation going on. Many people believe that this is side pocketing and so on. This is not side pocketing because the credit rating agencies have not declared these bonds as D or default. They are still investment grade bonds, and SEBI regulations clearly state that investment grade bonds cannot be side pocketed. The writing down is an internal AMC action which the AMC has the right to do on their own, but you cannot create a side pocket or a segregated portfolio unless the bond itself has been declared as a default, and nobody has declared it as a default so far. See, we are always cribbing off, we find something to crib. We always say AMCs should not follow credit ratings because they should follow their own analysis. Now, when they do this, they are saying, why did they write it down when the credit rating is still not declared as default? We are not happy with something or the other. So the only problem I have with Franklin is that the way they handled it is kind of bad. They should have announced it as early as possible, probably even immediately after the NAV declaration. The circular for the reasons, etc., should have come, but it came almost 12 hours late, or more than 12 hours late from the NAV declaration. Is the only crib I have about the whole thing. Amusingly, I was one of the first to write about this in the morning. Thanks to Asan and Isabel, someone broke the news there, and I just picked up on that. So, what does this mean? So first of all, Franklin has clarified. They have written. They have something very confusing. They say the debt securities of Vodafone Idea held in the schemes of Franklin Mutual Fund have been marked down to zero. The valuation adjustment only reflects the realizable price of the relevant securities on the data valuation and does not indicate any reduction or write-off of the amount repayable by VIL. The schemes will continuously monitor the developments and take appropriate steps to best interest of blah 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 unit holders. So, considering the amount of downgrade, my feeling is that they have downgraded or written down to zero the amount invested. That's the principal, and discounting the interests already received. I think they have just written off the principal, and they assume that the interest in future, if VIL pays, will be added to the scheme, and they have not written that part off. That's my reading. I could be wrong. If somebody else knows better, please comment on this. In any case, it doesn't matter. My opinion is that Franklin has done a proactive step in this regard in downgrading it and writing it down, because they more or less knew that the writing was on the wall. They did not wait for the credit agencies. This is very good management, in my opinion. Only thing is they should have handled it much better, because the reason is that I think the problem is they gave the window for side pocketing, and the window ended somewhere in the second week of January, I think, or maybe in the last week of December. I forgot. They gave a window, and many people got the impression that, okay, if the Vodafone default, they will side pocket. But now, having written it down on their own, they have excluded the idea, the option of side pocketing by themselves, and that is something which has confused investors, and that's something they should have handled in a much better way, in my opinion. But other than that, per se, the decision to write down is a good idea. They have also limited fresh inflows because to 2 lakhs per day. That is also not a smart thing, because if they write down, they can't stop. They can't segregate the portfolio, and you can't allow. You can't prevent people from investing in the fund. So This is another problem. So again, this is a new precedent. Now, nobody else has done it like this, as far as I know. So what should investors do? See, I have been shouting from the rooftop that Franklin UST is a risky fund. Then people keep saying, "Oh, debt funds are more riskier than equity." No, and then star ratings are useless. No, but star rate value research carries 4 star, 5 star. Of course, you should know what star rating is before using them. Most people who use star ratings look at the stars. They don't understand how the star rating is calculated. I have said again and again, first of all, they are complete, utter rubbish. Star ratings are complete rubbish, and they cannot and they do not include credit ratings. And when they don't include credit risk or credit ratings, why are you cribbing? It's stupid. I just cannot fathom this logic. So, and you knew the risk. You looked at that 9%, 9.5% returns. Oh, I'm getting like this tax benefit, 9.5% returns, better than FD. Then you invested. Well, somebody also mistold it for you probably, but that's also part of the problem. But at least the direct plan guys, you looked at it and you invested. You can't. I mean, you are playing with fire. Of course, you will get burnt. I know, and this is part of my plumb line. I am not going to remove Franklin UST from my plumb line just because of this default. It was known that it will happen. If you already know that it is poisonous, why do you go and play with it and then complain? You should have the maturity to accept the loss. So please have that maturity to accept. Please recognize, even if Vodafone Idea completely honors its debt, once there is a write down, once there is a default, once the NAV has gone down, the loss is permanent because of time value of money. You can't say, "Oh, I will get my money back." If they pay back, the NAV will recover. No, oh, NAV will recover, but when it recovers matters. Like we saw in the EPF video of interest payments. So once the NAV drops, the loss becomes permanent. You cannot run away from it. I mean, if you still trust Franklin and if your goals are long enough, you can continue with the fund. Otherwise, you have to pull out and stick to fixed deposits and recurring deposits. Other than the way they have handled this, I think the action in of itself is a good action, but I think it has come to, it has struck them kind of late. That's the only problem in this. So that's what I wanted to say in this video. Share your thoughts. Have a look at the article written today. Bye bye.